Don't judge a book by its cover. Hey, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. I want to share a lesson about how the world has carefully crafted personas such as social media, such as business networking, or how people show up at locations. And I say carefully crafted, meaning some people want to present an impression of a certain means, and they're the same person visually all the time. I was listening to Alan Watts, and he was talking about how those who are externally self-righteous most often are the most selfish. Those who present a certain face and want to save that face despite the facts of a situation are actually quite dangerous. So I show up with you guys authentically. I got a little bit of free time working on a project here. I do outdoor projects. I do marketing and development. I do, I basically live the fullest life I can possibly live. And that means coming to you as I am rather than as maybe the audience thinks I should be. Now, in marketing, it is important to show up as the audience expects. However, that can't be a front. So if I'm honest with you, if I'm transparent with you, and I show up with an honest, sincere message, which is not always easy for me to do because very often I'm very blunt and straightforward, but I'm improving my skill set rather than masking an underlying set of flaws. I'm being careful about this language because I'm telling you, don't judge a book by the cover. Showing up on a job site out here in the woods, working on a family campsite and some storage area for a farm activity. By the way, that's the Prosperity Homestead newsletter. But I'm telling you, judge by action, not by looks. So let's talk a little bit about identity politics. Today, people are being categorized based on biological characteristics that they have no control over. It's ignoring culture, it's ignoring upbringing, it's ignoring education, and just saying, oh, because this person looks a certain way, they are therefore X or Y. And again, that's a category of warning. We put attractive covers on books so that people read the book. But if you take the time to read the book despite the cover, you'll very often learn more valuable lessons. You'll develop and understand the character of individuals. You'll understand their reliability. You'll understand their connections as far as relationships and networks are concerned. Overall, you'll build a better context and a more accurate understanding of who the person is rather than who they are presenting as. So, social media is a prime example. Everybody's having their most wonderful life. They're doing a lot of these, hey, look at me, I'm out in the woods having a good time. Not realizing I'm going to be out here for like 10 hours. And this is my Saturday doing a project that I enjoy. However, it's hard work. I get sunburned and I get dirty, but I'm not trying to pitch you on how awesome this is because of some lack of feeling on myself. So, a lot of times what you'll see in social media is somebody will say, hey, I'm living my greatest life. And then when the camera goes away, they are stuck and desperate. And in fact, I find myself with the challenge of picking up the camera and chat with you guys when, I could just as easily have meditated, relaxed, could have taken a walk. I could have just took a nap in the shade, which I've done before, and so I even have to check myself. So why am I doing these podcasts? I check that in my mind, and I say, okay, well, this is a recording that I can deliver an important message about judging someone by their character rather than characteristics, and I can record it one time, and it'll be available for years to come, and then I have an obligation, or I don't really say an obligation, it's a service value for my paid subscribers. So paid subscribers are expecting a certain amount of content, and as my service to them, which I enjoy, I create the content. However, if you're compulsively picking up the phone and trying to show yourself as something you aren't, and you haven't taken the time to sit down and look at who you really are as a complex individual, or minority of one, as Ayn Rand talks about, then you're missing out on that context. So the lesson for today, number one, deep, introspective, figure out who you are, what you want to be, what life is to you. Are you going to have a beard or no beard? Are you going to wear a certain hairstyle because you like it or because someone wants you to wear that? Are you able to spend quality time with your family, or will you look back and with regret because you didn't connect in meaningful ways with those people around you? Do you have family members that you just rather not connect with, and you're going to have a chosen family? There's the reason why you do things that must be explored in order to present your authentic self. Now, a lot of people don't present their authentic self because they're afraid that that authentic self will be rejected by society or otherwise criticized. So cancel culture is a real thing. And so why does cancel culture work? Well, that works because the individual wants to feel belonging and connection, and whatever is loudest, screaming loudest at you, it feels like the default connection. But during Nazi Germany, they were awful loud about the National Socialist Party, which was seeking a racial purity, and it seemed like the dominant thing, and it took tremendous courage for people to stand up against that kind of thing. So all this talk about what you should do, that self-reflection, that journaling, that meditating, that finding out who you are, and that value you deliver in the marketplace, as well as who those connections are around you and the value they deliver to you and themselves, you'll very often figure out the right way to live that serves maximum value. So there's going to be an external social pressure. There's going to be mass delusions that can happen. All of this stuff you can be immune to when you are yourself. See, it's always easiest to be you. Now, what happens if you find out you've got bad traits, okay? If you've got socially destructive traits, do we elevate those traits and make them and normalize them? No. If you've got socially destructive traits or traits that don't serve you well, you can slowly wean those out. Benjamin Franklin had a list of positive traits that he desired, and what he essentially did is focused each week on one trait, incorporating that into his life. And so that's part of the introspection. That's part of understanding who you are and what you want to do. But when you have this and someone decides to cancel you, you're just like, cancel me from what? You weren't participating in the mass delusion in the first place. You weren't participating in the self-delusion that a lot of people have when they present something on. If you look at their social media and you see every picture has the same smile, like it's kind of like a presentation. Unfortunately, their insides may not be where it needs to be. So my lesson here is, don't judge a book by its cover. Some people are hurting and they need your compassion. They need your understanding. Some people are fronting and they need ignored. Other people are great people and they just haven't had the opportunity to get the outcome. And then some just kind of useless twits, as Monty Python used to say. And you can focus on your immediate family. You can focus on your own self-development. You can focus on your community, and a lot of that other stuff will take care of itself. So throughout history, we've had the same problems, both societal problems and individual problems. Why haven't we solved those problems? Well, because we look for external solutions. We look for the validation of society rather than just trying our best and whether it's prayer or meditation, becoming the person we want to see in others and becoming the idea, aspiration, or the creating the outcomes that we expect of the world around us. See, that projection of expectation on other people actually harms you. There's a lot of people you're going to run into that don't give a damn how your life turns out. You should give a damn how your life turns out. And so again, don't judge yourself by its cover. You want to present yourself professionally. You want to present yourself appropriate for an environment. But ultimately, you want to, when you look in the mirror, Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, when you look in the mirror, you have to be able to reconcile with who you are, and are your actions congruent with your beliefs and desires. Now again, you could believe that what you're doing is righteous and actually harm people. So you do want to look at yourself from the third party, but that is not your primary. We're not here to satisfy society. We're here to do what is right. We're here to do what is good. We're here to do what builds relationships rather than tear them down. Now, and I show you in this world here, which is my outdoorsman world. I enjoy in the outdoors. I enjoy agriculture. I enjoy gardening and things. Doesn't mean you have to, but I think your food, shelter, and well-being is very important. So I don't mind showing you the behind-the-scenes environment where I live, as well as the business environment. Now, granted, yes, it is confusing for people. Some people don't even think it's the same person, and that's okay. But it's a representation of how multifaceted individuals are. And I often find out people that are working in an office that live on a farm, and they feel ostracized, and they feel like that the office people look down on rural people. And there's these disconnects. We saw it very much during COVID, that the people in the city became slaves, became prisoners, while the people in the rural areas could do whatever the heck they want, because social distancing is a natural thing in the rural spaces. But ultimately, that kind of conflict doesn't have to be there. You can decide what you want, despite what others tell you you should believe. You can do the homework in the research, and if you have the context in the investigation of your own mind, you very often will find out that the world around you not only is crazy, but it's actually following the follower, and you can start leading the field. You'll be different. It won't always be fun, but you can start doing what is necessary to create a foundation of success, a foundation of influence, a foundation of growth, starting with your own anchoring. So while we teach you how to transform business relationships into profits, that's a context in the business structure, we also talk about your own self-reliance and your understanding of yourself so that you stay on track. What good is a fortune? What good is fame if it eats you alive? Now, I don't have them off the top of my head, but there are a couple documentaries about the science behind social media, the science behind the internet, and that addiction creating attention economy that's very strong today. And believe me, there are times where I just want to sell all my possessions and own nothing, but that's probably not the best solution either. There's a lot of agendas out there that are driving ideas and concepts that move people towards slavery rather towards freedom. If you sit down and do the homework, okay, now we help you do the homework. We've got special reports, we've got training programs, we've got coaching. If you do the homework, you can actually create for yourself an independent environment that's around you, facilitating your success. Now, success is defined at the individual level. I know society puts money in the position of success. They put control or our ability to control other people as a form of success. But again, we go back over the internal locus of control. The greatest power you can have is your ability to control your own behavior, to make sure you're doing behavior for your own reasons, and then ultimately making sure that you're a producer in society rather than this whole victim mentality that's being indoctrinated. People are being indoctrinated into a victim mentality where they must rely on some centralized authority for their healthcare decisions, for their housing, for every aspect of their life. And if you look back even 100 years, people were more independent, they were healthier, they were stronger. Now, poverty was a thing. Don't get me wrong, society today is way better than it was a couple hundred years ago. There's all kinds of new technology, there's all kinds of new opportunities, but ultimately, those opportunities are reserved for those who are independent thinking, who are able to discern fact from fiction, and who ultimately develop their own plan rather than following the plan dictated upon them. So next time you see a contrarian, next time you see somebody who has a difference of opinion, rather than jumping on them, listen. Try to understand where they're coming from. You might learn something. And then throughout history, I want you to look for the mavericks. I want you to look for the thinkers, for the individuals that may in their time not have survived very well, but ultimately deliver wisdom to you that you can, again, build on, grow from, and ultimately leverage to build up strong relationships around you. That's the only thing we really have. Economies fail, governments fail, everything fails eventually even relationships, but as you navigate through strong communities of individuals with strong character, ultimately you will be on the best side of this. You'll have faster recoveries, you'll have better connections, better access to resources, and the results that strategic relationships delivers. Now, I can't go into detail about all the connections and opportunities we have built for clients in the past, but if you have a specific challenge and you'd like to talk with somebody who understands the lateral thinking and the strategic elements and even larger world issues, then I'm available for questions at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. You can go there and ask questions that we can answer in the podcast. If you'd like a one-on-one consultation, we can do that. And then there's a lot of resources and materials available there through the newsletter. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, helping you transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. Reminding you, don't judge a book by its cover. Every individual out there has value. Every individual out there has some lesson for you, even if it's what not to do. But ultimately, let's build and grow from these things. Let's transform ourselves and the people around us in order to become better. Let's finally evolve instead of making the same dumb mistakes all the time. I'll see you in the next podcast.